Welcome, episode 2 of Unwhispered with Netta J. Oh my goodness, I'm so excited to have you guys back with me for episode 2. We're going to keep this ball going. Our first episode, Becoming Unwhispered, we really kind of talked about the purpose of the podcast and, the journey, that I'm on and some of the pain that I've had. So when we ended that episode, I asked you guys if it was something that you could unwhisper, what would it be? If you could just turn the volume up on it just a little bit, what would it be? So I hope you guys thought about that. If you're vulnerable and you want to be able to let me know what that is, please put it in the comments. Please DM me if you want it to be anonymous. I would love to hear it. I'd love to know what space you're in on your journey as well. We talked about really reclaiming my voice, and today I want to use that voice to talk about something I used to whisper. We're going to talk quite a bit about some things. So my single life, healing, and what my unfiltered new journey is like. And also, we talked about in the last episode, reclaiming my voice, which is one of the main reasons of the podcast. And today I'm going to use that voice to talk about something I used to whisper. So, one of the biggest things that I am saying now when someone has spoken to me in an unkind way, or like they're going on a rant and a tangent, or we're having a disagreement, and a lot of times people, when you have a disagreement, they think because they're louder, they're more right. And that's not the case at all. They're louder because they are trying to put their dominance over you. That's how I look at it. The louder you raise your voice when you're talking, the louder you want to explain something, is you are trying to claim more dominance in this conversation. So you can have it. But one of the things that I am now saying is, I don't appreciate being spoken to that way, and talk to me with love. I think that's really important. As adults, we should be able to have a disagreement, have a conversation, and be able to hear the other person. One, we have to wait until we have the capacity to do so, right? But then once you do have it, you have to be able to communicate in a way where both parties are understanding and comprehending what the other person is saying. Like that's the biggest thing for me. But talk to me with love. I had a situation where someone was pretty aggressive, when it came to how they were articulating how they felt about certain things. And I had my calm demeanor, and I'm like, okay, wait, let's talk to me with love. So yeah, I'm still learning that. I'm still kind of creating those boundaries. I'm still kind of putting my foot down when it comes to my emotions and being able to articulate how certain things make me feel without backing down. That's one of the biggest things that I've done. Now let's talk about my single era. I have been single longer than I've been in any relationship. Okay. So I have, I'm 40 and I'll be 41 soon. I would say we'll just say the 20 years being an adult, I've been in 4 relationships. So single life for me, it's not a bad thing. It's freedom, it's frustration, and it's also lessons. So I look at the freedom part as, moving how you want to and all of those things, and I don't really look at that as a characteristic truly of being single, because I do feel like if you have the right partner, you can still be you and move how you choose to move while still keeping the relationship as high priority. I do still feel like that. But the freedom is, making choices without negotiating your joy, reclaiming your time, your space, and your energy, and also rediscovering who I am when no one is influencing my decisions. Like that's part of my freedom. I can think about relationships that I've been in, and not just dating relationships, but also friendship relationships. I do think there's a level of sacrifice you have to have. You should not have to allow that person to influence the decisions that you make. And I'll just give you an example. In one of my most recent relationships, he was in a negative mind space. Certain things wasn't going the way that he wanted it to go. So his mood was always, mean, cold. And so the way he would maneuver was mean, cold. The way he would speak was mean and cold. And so I can choose to receive that and display the same energy, but is that me? Am I mean? Am I cold? I made a choice to not allow those negative spaces or negative moods dictate how I move. And so having them to influence my decisions, not just as far as moods, but just decisions as a whole. So all of that is a part of freedom. The frustration I have with dating is the dating fatigue. So we have the dating apps. We have regular social media, so it's Facebook, Instagram, and then we have meeting in public, whether it's a bar, church, club, at the park, somewhere. Then you have the referred by a friend. All of that, you just get so tired of, my name, my color, right? What do you do for a living? What goals do you have? All of those things. And having to keep repeating the same cycle and repeating those same conversations, you get that fatigue. And also feeling misunderstood by people who assume single is searching. Just because I'm single does not necessarily mean I'm searching for someone. I'm just single. Like, that's just my relationship status. And that could change. I have to be willing, right, for that to change. And then also navigating loneliness without letting it like swallow my progress, right? And so there's a huge difference between being lonely and being alone, right? I can honestly say I've had moments where I felt lonely because of different things, different milestones that I've accomplished, different things that I wanted to do. And having a significant other a lot of times makes a lot of those moments like worthwhile. Being alone, no, I love myself. Since I've had more time being single than in relationships, I've had a lot of time to love myself and learn myself, but I'm also relearning myself. I'm also rediscovering things, right? And one of them being my voice, which is why we're on with Unwhispered with Netta J. Then there's lessons that I've learned throughout my dating era, is I don't need to be chosen to be valuable, that my standards are also not too much. Maybe they're just not enough. I know, and I'm at a place to know that the standards that I'm setting for myself, they're definitely achievable. I can say that in the past, one of my relationships, it was so heartbreaking. It wasn't that the relationship was over, it was heartbreaking. It was how I got played in that relationship. It was what he did to me in that relationship and what his family did to me in that relationship. I felt played. After that, I was like, oh, okay, the next guy, I meet, he has to have this type of car, has this type of income, live in this area. And I did not take accountability at all for how I chose him. Like, I chose him for certain things, but then when I got played, I was mad that I allowed it to happen and that he played me. So I set standards. So the next guy was like, had to be damn near a millionaire to be able to achieve those standards that I've set. And then I looked in the mirror and I said, well, Netta, do you have that? Do you live in a certain area? Do you have this amount of money? Do you have these cars? Do you have all of these material things, that you are setting for yourself on this list for the man to have? I said, oh, I got to revisit this list. But I was heartbroken, right? And so that's what we do when we're unhealed and we start experiencing things and we're like, oh my God, this can never happen again. And now we go into the shutdown mode. I've learned from that. I've learned my lesson from that. So being single has truly become a part of my healing journey. I mentioned to you that I've been single, way longer than I've been in a relationship. But with me relearning myself, I am like, it's like forcing yourself to sit with yourself, to understand your patterns, your wounds, your desires. It allows me to think through, do a lot of self-reflection and break cycles. I used to whisper things about overgiving, ignoring the red flags, and shrinking myself. Those are all things that I used to whisper. Being on this new journey, I'm not whispering those things anymore. Also, learning to love without losing myself. I can truly say that I've poured so much out of my cup that I didn't know who I was. And who am I as an individual without these people and without certain things? That's another reason why we're here today, because I'm self-discovering myself and looking at my identity for who I am without people and without things. And also having some emotional maturity, self-awareness, boundaries, self-trust, trust my decision making, and also not necessarily beat myself up or be upset about choices that I've made, but just learn from the choices, because honestly, there's a lot of things that I do not regret because it's just who I am. But sometimes you have to be mindful of who you do things for. Are they truly deserving of those things? Have they shown you just as much as you've shown them? Now I'm asking those questions to myself, questions that I didn't necessarily ask when I made those decisions. So there's a lot that I am, that I am self-discovering on this healing journey. And this is not, again, not just relationships, like intimate relationships, friendships, parental relationships. So all of those things. I believe that there's a huge difference between being alone and being lonely. I think being alone is like the physical state, right? Sometimes it could be peaceful and also sometimes necessary. Being lonely is an emotional state. It can happen in a relationship or in a room full of people. You can be lonely. When I think about that, I can think of a couple times where I've been in a room with tons of people, but was lonely. I'm curious, have you ever felt that? I know I'm not the only one who has felt lonely in a room full of people. Let's get into some of my dating chronicles. I have this one that happened. So I met this guy. I was on a dating app. Sometimes I'm on a dating app, then I'm off, then I'm on, then I'm off. And so we were on the dating app and we had good conversation. So we exchanged numbers. And when we exchanged numbers, he ended up sending me a text and he's like, hey, what are you up to? And so my response was, moving around the house, doing chores, getting ready for work the next week. How was your weekend? This conversation went on for a good 15 minutes or so. He texts and he says, oh, the single life is something else. The women that I meet are broke and living with their aunt and or grandparents, and then they ghost him for no reason. So then about 6 minutes later, he sends me another message and he's like, I'm really looking forward to your response. You seem like a breath of fresh air. If you're not busy, we can talk later. 2 more minutes go by. He's like, it's clear you're not interested. I thought you were different from the rest. That's what his response was. So now I get to my phone 3 minutes after that last text, and I realize that I was a breath of fresh air, but also no different from the rest. Sir, it was 11 minutes. I was away for 11 minutes. I literally just told you I was moving around the house, getting prepared for the next week, all of those things. 11 minutes. But you know what? I dodged a bullet because ain't no way you coming back from that. Those are the red flags that you see early that you like, oh no, let me back away from this. I have to know. Have you experienced that type of dating chronicle? DM me, message me, email me at unwhispered with Netta J at Gmail. If you want to be anonymous, make sure you put that you want to be anonymous. Those have always been some of the dating chronicles that I've been very vocal about, just kind of those weird, kind of like off type of experiences. But there are patterns like that I've ignored before. Like I've ignored a lot of red flags early on. So one of the things that I ignored on was how someone communicated with me. So I believe that I'm an effective communicator, and I was not always this way. However, I am not an effective communicator when it comes to my feelings, right? Because a lot of times I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to worry about it. It's under the rug. I don't have the capacity for it right now. Oh, I'm not dealing with it right now. And then I never deal with it. I just let it pile up because it's not worth it to me. It's not worth it because I know how that person is going to receive it. I know they're going to shift blame. I know they're not going to take accountability for it. Their problem is bigger than my problem. What they're going through is bigger than what I'm going through. And they're going to find a way to gaslight me. Because since I know this, why was I in that relationship? Right. And it's because I didn't know that at the time. I had to process it. I had to experience it to know this is what this means. This is what gaslighting is. This is what being a narcissist is, right? We talk about those terms all the time. And I truly believe we all have a little bit of those characteristics in us, right? But full blown, oh baby, that's something else, right? But we're gonna have a therapist on Unwhispered with Netta J. We're gonna let them talk about it because I am not a professional. I'm just talking about my own experiences. I'll definitely, share my experiences with our therapist that we'll have on the show. I've ignored those red flags, how they communicated with me. I think because I know that I'm an effective communicator. I know they'll reciprocate. And so here it is again. I'm trying to convince myself that they're going to do the things that I'm doing. And that's not the case. Like you literally have to say it out loud. You have to say it out loud. I've ignored those red flags. The green flags, there's green flags that I didn't trust. And it can be a man who asking you out on a date, opens your door, brings you flowers, perfect gentleman, pull out your chair. And it's like, wait a minute, why he doing all of this? What? Oh, he wants some. Because ain't no way he doing all of this. Pay for the bill, walk you to your door. Don't offer to come in. Like, it's all right. I can't wait till the next day. Like, so it's just going too perfect, but you don't trust it. You second guessing it. It's like something going wrong. Those are some green flags I didn't trust. And I have plenty more that we're going to talk about. But I had to learn that every man isn't the same. We do things based off of the experiences that we've had. That allows us to now start making better choices and start doing things a little bit differently because of what we've experienced before. So, I've had moments that made me laugh, made me cry, and also moments that I was like, never again, not happening. I'm not settling for potential. And I used to say, oh, he has the potential. Yeah, he got some potential. But why are we settling for potential? Like why do we do that? Why do we say that? I'm allowed to want love without rushing into it. Like I don't have to rush into a relationship just because I want love. So that was a big one. But this one here is I realized that I am not performing for relationships that do not pour back into me. I've put on a whole Broadway show. I'm talking about from the opening credits to the ending credits. I put on that full show and then realized there was no one that was willing to put on that same Broadway show for me. And there we go again, thinking people will do what you would do in situations when everybody is their own individual. That's one thing that I am not going to do. We have to be able to show and prove ourselves to be in any form of a relationship. I'm healing, but I'm also dating. And I do believe that both can be true. I believe you can heal while dating. What I don't believe is that you should be broken in dating. I think that's something different, meaning that you don't have the foundation. You're just dating just because, right? When I say healing and dating, I have the foundation. I've identified, accountability. I've set boundaries and I'm still healing through certain situations, but I'm open and willing to get to know and date while I'm on my healing journey. Because honestly, is there a way that you can be healed from every single thing and then move forward? Like there's some small traumas that we all have. I do believe that you can be healing and dating at the same time. This podcast is because I'm on my healing journey and I know that you are too. Healing changes your standards. And I did not realize that until it started happening. I knew that I started to heal when I started to see certain situations and I'm like, oh no, that's not happening. Or, oh, I'm not doing this. Or, oh, doing that. I started setting standards for myself, some that I've been through before, some I watch others go through and experience. And then self-love shifts your dating choices. The more you pour into your own cup, the more you love yourself, you start to make better dating choices. And I think I've said that, but I don't know if I truly believed it until I started pouring more into my cup. I'm also learning to communicate my needs, which is something I can't really say that I've done. I've expected people to know. Now, I do think that that's still valid though. When you've spent so much time with your partner, with your friend, with your mother, siblings, when you've spent so much time, there is a level of a level of information that you've been able to retain over years, right? And so there are certain things that this person doesn't like tomatoes, they're allergic to this, those things. However, there are also things that you have to communicate. Like, how can you set boundaries when you've never communicated those things? Right. And so now, granted, I do believe people know when they got you fucked up. I do believe that. I also do believe people also know when they're gaslighting and being manipulative. I think people know that. I also think people know that they should be treating people how they would like to be treated, but instead they treat them differently because they know you're not going to say shit about it. I'm learning that when something doesn't sit right with me or I don't like that feeling, I'm saying it. And I don't care what you're going through. I don't care if this time isn't the right time. It may not be the right time for you, but it's the right time for me. So I'm going to communicate how I feel because I've been quiet for too long. I have been whispering these things throughout years of relationships, and I'm unwhispered now. So we're going to talk about it. Also, I am embracing my vulnerability without losing the boundaries that I'm creating. This is also a shock too. Like, I am healing, I am being vulnerable, but I'm being vulnerable in a public way. A podcast. What other way to be heard than creating your own safe space to be able to, have your own live therapy session with other people that's going through the same things, are experiencing the same things, or this can help prevent them from going through the things that I've experienced or that someone else has experienced. This platform is for all of you. I want you to also keep in mind, while you're on this healing journey, healing is messy, but it's beautiful. And it's also ongoing. You may have moments, I still have moments where I'm upset, I'm angry, I cry, but it's all a part of the journey. Bet it won't happen again. Bet that. I would love to know, what's one truth about your love life that you've been whispering? And what would it feel like to finally say it out loud? Even if it's just to yourself, even if it's in your own home, no one's there, and you are saying it out loud. What is the one truth? I would love to know. So if you're comfortable, please comment. If you'd like to be anonymous, you could DM it to me or you can email it to me. I have to know. I'm excited and thankful and grateful that you guys have been a part of Saying It Out Loud with Netta J. We are talking about some unwhispered truths. Episode 3 is coming up and we will have our first guest. I'm so excited. This beautiful woman is on her healing journey too, and she's had some experiences, and we're going to talk more about dating chronicles, boundaries, red flags, and she's going to be saying a whole lot of stuff out loud, unfiltered, raw. I think we might get a little spicy. We're going to talk about some spice. Please follow, share. If no one has told you today, please know that I love you. You are appreciated. I'll see you on episode 3.